Welcome to Little Bits of TLC, the podcast for educators by educators. And this season, we're doing something a little different. In this Ask Me Anything season, we're going behind the scenes to explore the story of TLC itself. Hosted by Flora Yao, Matthew Hayes, and Cass O'Hara, each episode sits down with TLC founder Heather Bolchko to unpack how it all started, where it's headed, and what she's learned along the way. So whether you're new to TLC or you've been with us from the beginning, this season is all about curiosity, connection, and a journey so full of twists and turns and brilliance, even Heather's still catching up. This is Little Bits of TLC. Looking for something that actually fits your life? TLC University is here for that. Each week, we spotlight something different. A webinar with real-world insights, a hangout-style interview, and a hands-on workshop or a Q&A where we answer your questions. It's flexible, it's self-paced, and most come with CEUs. So whether you're looking to grow, reflect, or just listen in, there's something here for you. And it's all in one place. university.thresholdlearning.org. That's where you'll find show notes, professional blogs, a full catalog of ACE-accredited courses, and downloadable resources. It all just keeps growing. So whether you're walking the dog, commuting, or taking a breather between the daily grind, TLC University meets you where you are. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org and check out what's new this week. See you then.
All right, so we're back for our final episode of our mini-series, Ask Me Anything. I'm Flora, the host who has been here since the beginning of TLC, so I know kind of the ins and outs of everything. I'm here with Cass. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Cass O'Hara. I'm a current BCBA trainee. I'm also a teacher with one of the nonprofit district partners. I'm also partnering with TLC and the nonprofit for some dreaming for the next school year and seeing what that's going to look like. We also have Matthew here.
Hey, thanks, Cass. Yeah, I'm Matthew Hayes. Me and Heather actually go back a while from some work we did together at NASA. And then I came over to TLC starting as a coach and now one of the founding directors of the nonprofit. So excited for today's conversation.
Yes, we got a great group. And of course, we have Heather. Hello, Heather.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
So I'm going to start you off really easy. So we're recording in May. And so this is like closing up the school year. So I want to know, as an owner of a company that works with schools and districts, what is something that's really difficult for you and the company closing out a school year?
Yeah, this school year is unlike any other that I have experienced. And I'm really lucky that I have a lot of other professionals in the education space and all of our like nonprofit district partners that we're working with too. The questions that our people internally and the people that we're serving have been asking over the past, 5 months, like this semester, it's it's unreal, right? Like these are big unanswerable questions that are hitting at the time of year when most schools are doing future projections and making planning for next school year and figuring out what staffing is going to look like, what programming is going to work, what are those database outcomes that they need to target in the next school year, and then what are those strategies, supports, resources that need to be in place to actually make that progress happen. And at the same time, we've got so many things that are changing at the federal level and at the state level that they're not even, like what you think you've got one month is different the next month. And I don't think we've really talked about this in, this mini series, but even planning from month to month. At the end of every month, I meet with my, district leaders or building leaders and say, cool, like how'd it go? How'd this month go? What do you need for next month? Are we working, not working? Like new targets? What are we trying to do? And oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
the conversations that I had in January were completely different from what I had in December and then what I had in February. And that has just continued through this entire semester. So walking into the summer, typically, we've got kind of like a feel. We may not have it, completely, rooted into scheduling and having like all the right names and all that stuff. Like there's still a lot of things that get ironed out over the summer. But a lot of times from March and April, you kind of have a general idea, like a direction. At least like if there's going to be a partnership or not, or what types of things you're trying to work on or not. But because there are so many big question marks at both the state and federal levels right now, it's like, well, this is what we're hoping for,
Right.
but we don't know, right? Like, and it's a genuine we don't know, not like an ambivalent or lack of planning or, like I'm just too busy to think about that right now. It's none of
Yeah.
that. It's just really big question marks. And so I think that in terms of ending a school year, I have never ended a year like that, right?
Mm.
There's always, details to get figured out.
Mhm.
But I have never walked into the summer in this like, well, we'll see, like,
Right.
very, very open-handed, is quite honestly like how we're all walking into the summer. And so on my end, that has made it really hard. I mean, Matthew and I a couple episodes ago had conversations around, entrepreneurialism and, how do business models and how do you make some of those like organizational structure and, just decision making. This is a wild context to do that in.
Mm.
But likewise, our schools are the same way, right? Like our practitioners don't know if they have jobs coming back next year. Our districts don't know what they can or can't offer to what students. And so everybody, right, like on every front, just has so many really big questions. So
Mm.
I think that makes it extra complicated or challenging. But I think Cass, some of you in my episodes this summer has been, but I think that's just sort of what I'm built for, is what TLC is built for, and we're here for it. And so I think there's a lot of unknowns, but there's also a lot of curiosity and intentionality behind making sure that we can show up in ways that, really fit for the folks that are willing to partner with us.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's so good. And one of the things I know you talk about all the time when it comes to TLC is how we're positioned. And like always making sure that TLC is positioned in a way to serve and to serve the people that we care about in our communities. Um, so I know you talked about like a feel, right? Like every year as we come
Mhm.
to this time, like there's a feel of what's next. So I'm curious, all these questions that you've been hearing from people and all these, conversations and meetings and chats, like how have you been kind of interpreting all that and kind of what kind of dreaming is it creating for you? Like what are you kind of seeing as you start positioning TLC into this next year?
Yeah. Um, so of course, with any dream comes the operations and logistics to make the dream reality, right? And so I think where I have been having fun, again, we're recording this at the end of May, and throughout the back half of April and May up until now, I've been having a lot of those conversations to say, okay, we've had these dreams, especially February, March, as a lot of our districts were, also having really big question marks and we're trying to figure out where we fit in. Um, some of it comes down to those operations, right? So if other organizations, people, groups, entities can't also get flexible and creative in some of how what they do can show up or be leveraged in ways that are a little bit outside of maybe their norm. Um, I've had some really cool conversations with people where it's like, well, then it's just not a fit, right? Like we're going to try to show up in ways that is outside of your structures at this time, and that's cool, right? Like there's a closed door. Great. What's the next one? And then there's been other ones where they have fully engaged in some of the like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, I wonder if we could, what about, and you start having different kinds of conversations where it's leveraging what does exist, but maybe trying it in different ways. And that's where like on the nonprofit side, because that's where we do a lot of our district services. Man, between conversations with my district, the district leaders that I get to work with, and then even internally, because all of us in our own professional ways are seeing things in all kinds of different ways. Our team is all across the country too. So how this shows up at different states has also been very different along the way. But being able to not just get creative to still focus on like who we are and what we're here for, but then get creative in the operations to say, can we actually make that happen? And then to get hit with another side swipe and see, okay, well, then maybe that direction isn't the direction, but the purpose and intentionality behind it is still the same. So now how can we pivot and still meet those same needs and stay within the new parameters to, continue to serve the folks that we are, here to serve. But I think we've walked that in a bunch of different ways so far. And I'm curious to see kind of where some of the stuff shakes out, even by the time this episode airs, quite honestly, because a lot of those decisions will happen over the summer before this episode will even air.
I was gonna say, Heather, I feel like pivoting is a huge part of this company, and I feel like maybe your life in general before this company, it's just never been this extreme.
Yeah.
I think that actually leads me to my question too. I hear a lot of there's a lot of uncertainties, and whether it's the political climate or just things changing and people not being sure, or maybe not looking as far ahead as maybe the business needs to, or lacking creativity. So I guess my question is, what is certain, right? So in order to keep this mentality that I can pivot and there's going to be open doors. I just need to find them along the way and just kind of keep walking through it. What what do you hold on to that is certain, or really can anything be in this field?
Mm. Um, so I look at this in, I think, two different directions. So I'll kind of take both of them, and then y'all can take me where you think this goes. Um, so I think on the school front, I have been saying all semester, even if the funding vaporizes, the humans aren't.
Mm,
Right. So end of the day, like until a free, appropriate public education is no longer part of the education in the United States, that means every public school has a duty to serve. A kid shows up at the front door, and whether we have the tools, skills, resources, people, it does not matter. We still have the mandate to serve them. And so for me, I think there's so many opportunities there, right? Because if the end goal is still, well, we have to serve them. Right, well, then what? How? Right, like, then we get to be creative, and I think there's opportunities tucked into that. Actually had a really cool conversation with one of the directors where, um, she was really excited about a potential that we were starting to kinda dream up in the nonprofit for next school year, and then by the time we'd gotten together the next month, I was like, "That's kind of off the table." Like, here's another direction, here's another angle. And she was just like, "See? Every time that there is a closed door, it makes the open door that much better, right?
mm,
Like it's okay, this is a no, but because that's a no, we got to pivot this way, which means we got rid of these things and we're actually keeping these things and didn't even like we hadn't previously thought about those things. And now those things are actually going to meet the needs so much better. And she was just like, that's why I love working with TLC, like, cause like this is like, it's not this is our business model and this is what we do. Period. Full stop. It's like here's who we serve and here is who we are and how that gets to show up. And I think that's the other way of like looking at this question that you're asking, Cass, is at the end of the day, like TLC is not just me. Right. Like there are so many different people doing so many super cool things, and they are each in their own right amazing professionals and humans with non-straight line stories, just like my own, right? Um, and I think that's true. That just stays true, right? Like we are all completely different people with completely different backgrounds. And we all still kind of have that same similar heart to continue to keep walking forward, to figure out what's next. And so even when one of us is like doom scrolling till the end of time, right? And it's like, no, wait, hold up, reroute. What are we here for? Right. And each one of us can take those moments together to make sure that each of those next steps can be taken, not just even at TLC, but in all of our lives outside of, in our like personal, professional, outside of TLC. And I think that just stays true, regardless of, whatever is going on around us at any given time. Like the kids are still here. They're still going to
mm,
exist. The consultancy, the group of people doing the work around TLC, they still exist. We're all still here, right? It's just a matter of walking forward into, what's next? How does this continue to merge together? And how can we continue to just keep showing up and doing the thing with whoever, wherever, however?
Yeah, I love that Cass said that because I was on the exact same page of like the mindset piece. Because especially coming out of our last episode talking about self-care,
Mhm.
right? And like through all the changes and shifting priorities throughout all that we're talking about and dealing with here. I remember we were texting maybe a week or two ago, and you sent me a song, and one of the lyrics of that song is that every no leads to a better yes.
mm,
Mhm.
Right. And that's what I heard as you were just talking, right? Of like this pivoting mentality that will always find a solution because at the core of not just the TLC team and not just the work that TLC does, the core is both the same. Our focus is to serve,
Mhm.
right? So I'm curious, like, as we go through all these different shifting pieces of life, right? Not just professionally, but also personally,
Mhm.
um, that mindset piece is huge, right? And I know I definitely want to. We'll talk more about like what we see for TLC and all those pieces for sure. Um, but I think for a lot of people listening right now, especially getting to this part in the series, they've walked through a lot of this themselves, right, in their own
Mhm.
bubble in the world, right? And they're probably in that same space of like, okay, I have something I need to accomplish. I also have a heart to want to be of service, but life is a lot right now. Right. And like, how do I keep that positive mental attitude to keep looking forward, even when sometimes it feels a little dark outside?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be real. I mean, like, we've got some really amazing people that carry things very deeply. And so in this season, it has been walking that with them. And yeah, sometimes it's sending things like, hey, this made me think of you, or this is a conversation you and I just had. And like, I'll just like, ping little things, right, to, help keep your head up, keep the vision longer than the uncertainty, ambiguity, chaos that's right here and so very big at the moment. But just something to be like a little further, right? Like, but on the other side of that, right?
Mhm.
Anything that can kind of just nudge all of us to continue to kind of keep thinking in that direction. I think that's very real, but I think even in the episodes you and I had recorded, Matthew, is within business operations, just needing to honor that, right? Like there's going to be seasons, just like if someone just has a baby, right? Like there's a massive, life shift that happens, which means they're going to either need to show up differently or not at all for a period of time or, whatever that might be. But for me, it goes back to like, but they have something to offer. That doesn't change. But how it's offered, gosh, we can get really flexible and
Mhm.
really creative with what that would be. And we can walk that with intentionality, into and out the other side of whatever that season may be. And I know I've done that around here, with TLC, but I think Matthew, to that mindset point, like that's seeing the person. It's a very human way of not just like operations or leadership, but it's just like of life. So like myself, I have things that I love to do. I have ways I love to show up. And there are seasons of life where I can do that and then some full tilt. Like Flora has walked with me through some of those seasons where I'm just like, let's go. And there's also been seasons where I'm like, I'm gonna curl up in a ball, I'm gonna wait this out, and then we're gonna try again, right? Like my skills and what I have to offer and how, like what that hasn't changed, but how I can show up completely different, right? So the mindset isn't, "Oh, I can or I can't." It's how. Like, how can I what can I do in this season that's good for me and good for whatever's around me, to show up in that meaningful way and to know that that's not the end of it, right? There's another day, another month, another year on the front like, on the other side of it. We get to figure that out as we go.
That's I it's honestly, it was super impactful. I'm over here sitting like, "Man, I've learned so much from Heather and all these people I've gotten to meet through her," and I was like, "Here I am, like, a student once again," right? And I think that that's what you continue to surround yourself with and have really built up TLC on the backs of the people that are wanting to lean in as a team and, maybe lean in further when someone doesn't have they aren't 100%, and, I think that's really, really uh, huge for a company, especially one like this, to continue to keep pushing through all of these changing times. So, as much as you can share, want to share, what kind of opportunities do you have kind of laid ahead that are kind of paved and saying, okay, we feel a lot of this shift sometimes within 1 month, but is there anything that you're looking forward to or TLC is looking forward to in the coming year and the coming semesters that you can share with us? Any exciting things?
Yeah.
If you need a drum
Okay.
roll, we'll do a drum roll for you.
I will too.
So, something that I have found myself saying quite a bit, especially in the past couple of months, is I did not, I don't know, I know Matthew, you're like the business planning and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I would love to be able to be like, I was a brilliant business leader and we were so far ahead of the times, right? Like, that's not how I see the story. But that is kind of where we're at, where we are better positioned than I could have ever dreamed, knowing even the positionality that we walked into the school year with was an intentional shift. So like we had shared before, the nonprofit launched this school year out of some consulting work that had been done years prior, and part of that was because we wanted, like, we had people that were reaching out asking, like, we want to work with you, but the fee for service model is, it's a barrier. And so we wanted to try to find some other way, like, how do we remove that barrier so that the work can continue to move forward? And then that opens up opportunities like grants and founders and sponsors and all these other things in the philanthropic space that doesn't exist in a more traditional business model space. Well, at the same time, we also had a couple of different like angles going on. So I know in other episodes we talked about, different projects at the online space and how we're leveraging some of those things. We've also talked the district services and like the partnerships that we get to have with our people. And this moment, like, we are walking into next school year with the widest, like, cafeteria selection style options and opportunities, um, because everybody in the consultancy has taken their corners, championed it, and continued to walk those spaces forward. We now have opportunities where we can say, "Cool, if you can get us on site on campus, then let's go," right? And we can leverage that really, like, intimate hand-holding experience in that space, all the way to if you just need to learn some stuff, right? Like, we can hook you up with a learning and, like, period, full stop. And now we've got all these options, thanks to, post pandemic and, people leveraging, new technology and new skills that they, had never maybe had to collaborate in certain ways or it felt so removed. Now it feels a little
Mhm.
bit more normal. And so we can leverage like video calls or even like I videoed into classrooms, or we can do embedded coaching pieces within some of that online learning, where it's more of that asynchronous and get what you need as you're going. Right? Our coaching team has been able to get creative with how we can show up. It's no longer having to be on site at a certain time for a certain group, but we can leverage online so people aren't even having to drive, or now we can leverage it asynchronously. I mean, Matthew over here is the king of the voice memo, you know? So
Mhm.
like all these different options and opportunities show up, but it's just more ways for our team to continue to show up and do what we do. And now it gives so many more options to our district partners and honestly our practitioners. And that's one of the things that I'm we've been like kind of behind the scenes trying to figure out how to get that angle because I get all these emails on a regular basis. It's like, "Hey, I saw this thing. This is super cool. Like, how can I partner with you?" And I'm like, "Your district has to be part of that decision making, right?"
Yeah.
Like, and so there I've been kind of landlocked with some of those like needing to go through district contract to be able to serve a practitioner. And sometimes districts are like, "Oh my gosh, yes, please, thank you," and
Mhm.
other times that's not the decision. And so to be able to now have a space where we can fully really serve the practitioner from the ground up, as well as the organization from the top down. It then we can just serve whatever those needs are, kind of however that's showing up. So I think for me, looking at where we headed and what's coming next year, a lot of that is just knowing that we actually have a lot of different angles now that are good, solid, like well founded, with good people that have these practices locked in. And that way, regardless of time, budget, interest, even our district or our practitioners' learning styles, we can match those, potential opportunities, with what it is that they're trying to make happen and how they would be open to making those things happen. So that's super exciting for me.
Mm.
I was just gonna say because we've talked about so many different things throughout the year. Um, Whether it's things in the classroom, like stories of families, even it's really cool, our student ambassador through the nonprofit who comes and gets to share out with some of the different stuff happening in middle school and, all the drama, right, in the cafeteria. And it's like there's been so many things this year that have been heavy, but also have been meaningful and have created such a cause and purpose behind the work outside of just wanting to serve, impacting the community, which in itself is already, powerful, right? But like when you get a chance to be on the ground floor and in the classroom and hear the stories and like share a box of milk with somebody, right? Or whatever the case. Um, it hits a little different, right? As the kids would say. So I'm
So hip.
curious, all right? Like, I'm curious, are there any like stories this year that have really kind of hit home for you or that you sat with and helped driven the way that you look at the work moving forward?
Yeah. So anyone who's listening, like, me, like, we just do the work, right? Like, we show up and do the thing, serve the people, help them out, move them forward, right? Like we just keep the ball moving down the field. So I do not keep a great, record of all of these stories. Um, but I think in TLC, if there is anything that's true, that has been true from the jump, is like you just can't make these stories up. If that's how people join TLC, how people hear about TLC, the work that TLC then does through any of these different, angles, outlets, and opportunities that we've talked about, and even some of them that are kind of percolating into next school year too. Like you just can't make this stuff up. Like we've had, I had a conversation with one of the members of our consultancy, and we were like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if this like online learning thing could be, leveraged in this kind of way, because then it's not just the learning piece. We could also do some of like the hand holding, and then we could do some Q&As, and we could do some like on-site and like all these things." And I was like, that's awesome. Like, that would be super cool if that opportunity came up. You're right. Like, we are really well positioned to meet that need. Literally, that was one night. The next morning, I dropped onto a call with a district who was interested in working with us. And they're like, hey, we were looking at your website. We're interested in this thing, but we were wondering, instead of just doing that, could we also, and literally pitched back to me the exact same idea in that conversation I had had the night before. So I literally am like, actually, yeah, we can do that, right? Because we had already had that conversation. How many different times folks have said, like, this is something I'm really passionate about. Or, I mean, honestly, like the story of how TLC even started offering the BCBA trainee experience was I was asked to go present at a conference about supervision, and specifically to speak on behalf of supervision in schools, because that's a big gap in the ABA world, is that folks are really great at applying the science in clinic and in home settings, but there's a lot of practitioners that then will not supervise in schools. And that also means we've got a lot of practitioners that go unserved there, or they complete their masters but don't get their hours. And so they never actually sit and become certified, right? So I was asked to go speak at this conference from that school practitioner lens. Did a whole session on that while I was there, of course, picked up a bunch of really cool things, different like tools, tips, tricks, and things like that, because I don't live in that space frequently. So it was like a cool brainchild for me. Literally tucked that in my back pocket, be like, oh, that would be neat. That's like what, June, July. I'm at a conference presenting with another member of the consultancy in November. And they're like, man, the thing I just really love is like, I love being able to pour into people just trying to learn this and figure this out. Like, I miss some of those, making sense of the science in the practice type of conversations. I don't get to do that in my day job. This is just so cool. And I'm like, I have a model for it. Can you run it? And then we popped up supervision with TLC in January, and have, now we're walking through district partnerships, or not district, university partnerships, and having universities be like, oh my gosh, you're filling this gap that, we have folks that are exactly where, what we're designed to serve. But nobody does that. And so we don't have anywhere to send our people. So now we've got universities that are like, oh my gosh, yes, please go work with them. And it's the same, it's a consultancy model. So we all get to just be our practitioner selves and then show up and help other folks learn it too. But like that came from, you know, these timelines and stories that you just simply cannot make up. But I think at the end of the day, all of my director conversations that I get to have every month, where, I always open with like, how's it going? Like, you surviving? How are you? What is life at the moment? And hearing their top of mind thoughts when I ask that question. Um, I mean, heck, if I take it back to January, folks were going like, could we go back to popping up like a COVID hybrid learning style so that we could support our, immigrant students hiding in plain sight in our communities, right? Like, that they are thinking in that creative way at the end of the
Mm.
day to serve those local, like serve their local. I'm like, I'm so here for that. Right? Like, that there's only so much that our team can do. We're not there all day every day. Like, our goal is to equip and expand, to extend their local capacity, right? And if that goes through the online learning stuff, or through, the direct services stuff, or any hybrid combination in between, to know that we are partnered with people that see their people, and at the end of the day are just trying to serve their students, their families, their communities, and the staff that are doing that service to their local. All of those stories, literally every single one of them, that is that, like, through line for me, that I can then take those stories back to our team and be like, "See, we're layered up. Like, here's where this is fitting. Here's what they're seeing. Here's where they're headed. Here's where we may be able to fit. They're open to this partnership here. Do you have any resources on this? Right? Like, those are the stories that you just simply cannot make up. That has literally been TLC from day one.
Day one. Yep.
Absolutely. That was amazing. Thanks for
Mm.
all of that, Heather. We're wrapping up. It's episode 9. And we've covered a lot, right? And I think for all of our listeners who are here with us at this point, you know that you're part of the TLC family too.
For
Um,
sure.
so if someone heard nothing else outside of maybe 60 seconds, right, just to hear from you, the founder, the CEO, kind of, but also someone on the front lines with the rest of us, kind of, just take maybe 1 minute and kind of what's one message you want to leave looking forward?
Yeah, I think just keep showing up. Right. Keep showing up in whatever capacity, with whatever skills, in whatever space, right? Like, I know there's a lot of folks at this point in the summer, actually, when this airs, they may know if they're going back next year or not, where right now there's a lot of questions. Um, I think regardless of what it is, right? Like, you are your practitioner, you have your skills, you have the heart of whatever it is that you are bringing, show up and do it. Yeah, like, and just be okay being creative, knowing that, like, it doesn't have to be that clean, that it literally can just be show up. Show up and do the thing, wherever, however, with whoever. Just keep doing the thing.
Hey, before you jump back into your busy life, consider dropping a like and follow at Threshold Learning TLC on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you like our show, share the podcast with your colleagues. A personal recommendation is by far the best way to promote the podcast. Let them know that they can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that they catch their podcast. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. You can email us at info@thresholdlearning.org. We always enjoy connecting with fellow educators and champions for educational justice. You can find everything you're looking for at thresholdlearning.org. See you there. Attention educators pursuing behavior analysis certification and universities preparing them for success. Supervision with TLC offers 100% remote fieldwork supervision designed specifically for school-based professionals. Educators can earn their hours right in their schools without leaving their classroom, all while being supported by experienced BCBAs who understand the realities of education. With month-to-month scheduling, affordable rates, and both live video and asynchronous chat, our fieldwork supervision model is designed to fit into your life, not the other way around. We also invite universities to enhance their graduate programs in partnership with our team of practicing school-based BCBAs. Our fieldwork supervision model keeps students on track for certification by helping them connect their practice to all exam domains so that they can confidently pass the exam. Explore more at university.thresholdlearning.org/supervision or email supervision@thresholdlearning.org to connect. Supervision with TLC, where educators grow into behavior analysts.